Hey, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the Sully squad. It's big things going on this week. First, it's draft week, so we're getting ready for the draft. Sixers are in the second round, so we'll see if we can finally get past the second round bugaboo. Phillies are starting to turn a corner, and big things in the NFL in general. I mean, Aaron, the Jets finally may have a quarterback.
Yeah. Just came out of the cave from his dark place. So,
yeah.
He's ready to rock.
Immunized, ready to go.
Exactly. But we're going to get into it. That and much more. We got special guests. We got our man Sean on. How you doing, Sean?
Yeah, doing well. I appreciate you guys having me on again. And
no problem, man.
Sixers cruised through one round, so I guess 4 down, hopefully 12 to go. A lot more up in the air than I think people would like at this point. But, yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I got my man Sean Kilrain to my left. What's up, Sean? How you doing?
What's up, fellas? Hanging in there, man.
I got Mr. 6 for 6 right below me, Diego. What's up, man? How you doing, Diego the Hammer Bianchi? What's up, bro?
What's good, guys? How you doing? Feeling good after that Sixer sweep. Who is it?
Hey, you know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Embiid's a little hurt, but he'll be all right for the Celtics.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so too.
He better be. He better be all right for the Celtics. Got a week and a half. Get ready.
Yeah. Got my man right next to me. My man that always brings the energy. My man Mike Fuji. What's up, bro?
Draft week, the Philly General got paid. Sixers sweep. Phillies win 3 out of 4. Let's get the party rocking with Big Sean Barnard. How you doing, Paulie?
And then last but not least, my man rocking the old school AI jersey. That's totally appropriate for this week. My man Euro Paul. What's up, Paul? How you doing, bro?
Paul?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. So let's get into it here. We got a nice little sweep of the Nets. Very impressive. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was talking about second getting over the second round hurdle, and to me, this team, I just feel like this team has a different vibe, and a lot of that might be possibly, in my opinion, it could possibly be PJ Tucker. Sean, what was your opinion on the 4-game sweep?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sixers lucked out matchup-wise. I think there's a real argument to be made that the Nets are probably the worst team that made the playoffs. If they did not have that first half of the season with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on the roster, I think there's a pretty good chance that that team does not crack the playoffs at all. But you can only beat who's in front of you, and that's exactly what the Sixers did. So they have not swept since 1991, I believe, was the last sweep technically, and that was only a 3-game sweep. And then 84-85 was their last 4-game sweep. So it was nice to see them take care of business, especially without Joel being there for game 4. The more rest, the better right now for what he's dealing with, which is now being labeled a sprained LCL. I personally am of the mindset that there's no doubt in my mind he'll be out there for game 1 of the Celtics series, but it's what level he can play out, I guess, is more of the concern. But overall, they took care of business. A lot of guys stepped up. It was the Tobias Harris series in a lot of ways, the Tyrese Maxey series in some regards, PJ Tucker doing his thing. So it was nice to see some help from the pieces around the edges and guys stepping into roles, and overall took care of business and did exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, even Paul Reed stepped up too.
Yeah,
he looked decent.
Paul, baby.
Yeah. P-Ball Paul is the man, the best backup center in the Joel Embiid era. So it was good to see him getting the starting nod, doing his thing, and it's awesome that he's kind of flourishing into a true, legitimate NBA positive player. It's great to see.
Yeah, and you touched on Tobias Harris, and I'll tell you that's a guy that's at times can be a whipping boy here. Yeah. But I mean, you look at Tobias. I mean, what do you have? 25 and 12 in game 4. And not just that, but I think he went for 20 and 10 a few of these games.
Saturday.
And he's so he really stepped it up, and they're going to need that going forward against Boston, especially if Embiid's not 100%. They're really going to need Tobias to step up.
Yeah,
we were talking about that last time Sean was on the show, and I said Tobias Harris is the guy who has no role. They can't pick, his role changes every single year. When he has his role that he could take 15 to 18 shots, he usually makes the most out of that and steps up. It's hard when you can only get 8-10 shots a game to get in a rhythm. But when he can take his 15 shots, Tobias Harris is usually a very solid player.
Yeah, and we saw that. He was a guy who stepped up into those shots that were available with Joel being out, with James Harden struggling a little bit, particularly inside the arc. I mean, look at his numbers on the series, averaging 20.3 points, 8.8 rebounds, shot 56.7% from the field and 57% from three. He's not going to shoot 57% from three for a whole playoff run. But regardless, this is like a thing that he is stepping up, doing his thing, answering the call. And yeah, the Sixers needed the points that he got him to. These were no cupcake points or pad the stats. These were necessary points to them getting the win, and backing down, getting in the mid post, finding his sweet spots. We haven't seen that version of Tobias in a long time. And like we mentioned last time, like he hasn't really had a defined role. It changed once again, but he changed with it and was willing to answer it, and they needed him. So shout out to Tobias for staying ready. And he's definitely a guy who gets a worse rep than he deserves at times.
True. Got a
So
comment.
you posted. Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
No,
I
I
think
was
you
just
posted
going
some stats. Go ahead.
I was just going to play around. I got a comment here, Adam G, Boston in 5. Well, let me tell you something there. Maybe, buddy, but get past Atlanta first. You know, you guys lost the game. We swept. So take care of your business first.
All right. So what I was going to say is Sean posted some stats on Twitter earlier. It's all James Harden stats. He's shooting 34% from the field. This is pretty good. 42% from three. But in my opinion, the most concerning thing, he only shot 27% inside the arc. How concerned are you, Sean, about James Harden's performance? Just play all James Harden?
Yeah, I am a little concerned by it. And it's tough to exactly put my finger on what the problem is, because, like, I don't think it's a lack of burst, because we're seeing him make some guys look silly at times. We saw him making Cam Johnson fall at one point, doing some moves that create some real separation. So I don't think it's like his burst. Like, he's getting by guys, but he's just not finishing. I mean, inside 5 feet from the rim, shooting 5 of 20, between 5 and 9 feet, 0 for 6 from the field, just 28.1% from inside the arc overall. Those just have to be better. And honestly, a lot of them were not looks that he should be missing or weren't bothered by contests. There were a couple that he got tracked down from behind and blocked by Nick Claxton and things like that. But there were a lot of opportunities that were just open shots, and he just couldn't get it to fall. And that's definitely a concern. That can't be happening. They need him to be the James Harden that's capable of creating off the dribble. He did a good job penetrating, kicking out the three. That's kind of his bread and butter on the offense nowadays, and his playmaking is as advertised, if not better. But they got to have him to be able to score off the dribble. And frankly, Boston's not going to be any easier as far as creating open looks inside the paint. And we'll see what happens. I'm not like overly concerned by it, I would say, because it just feels like something that naturally has to settle. Like, he's a guy that's a 3-time scoring champion. He should be able to convert on layups more often. But yeah, it definitely wasn't super promising from round one.
How do you see it going forward?
I think that's the $1 million question. Is, like I said, I'm not of the mindset. I know a lot of people are questioning like his fitness or if the burst isn't there. I don't see it that way. It just doesn't look that way to me. Like, he's capable of getting by guys and creating some separation off the dribble. In a lot of ways, I think they're going to live and die with whether those step back threes fall. There's games where if he converts on like 5 of 7 of those, then it looks like a great James Harden game. If he shoots 2 of 7, then we're kind of complaining about how this guy doesn't do much for the offense. And so I think that's going to determine things. It just needs to be more of him finishing around the rim too. Like, he can't get deterred by not shooting well in that series. I need him to have a bounce back effort of being hungry, wanting to attack. And I don't know. I just need to see it. I'm torn on which way I think it go. Like I said, I don't think it's a fitness thing or a physicality thing. He just needs to get the job done.
Well, his legs are definitely there, because usually a telltale sign your legs aren't there is your 3-point shot's really bad, but he's shooting 42% from threes.
Right.
So he's got his legs under him. You know, so it's
Yeah, that's what's
he
been the most confusing part about it to me. Like, there's not like a clear cut. This is why. I don't think it's the legs. I think his fitness has been pretty good. I've been impressed with that area of him all season. So I don't think that's the issue. But he's a guy that just needs to find a way to finish it. As simple as it is, just make a couple more shots around the rim, and no one's complaining. Part of it, I think people will argue, maybe him trying to foul bait or get to the free throw line more. If that's the case, then that needs to be taken out of his game. But I haven't really seen that much of that either. I think it's more of just, he unfortunately missed a lot of shots that he should have made. And if that changes in round 2, the Sixers are looking a whole lot better. So I guess that in some regards can be a reason for optimism.
Yeah, that's cool.
Definitely. I got a comment here from Pat Bernard. He says, I love what PJ Tucker is doing, being a floor general, getting big offensive rebounds. D'Anthony Melton has been big from the perimeter. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I'll tell you, the one thing I like about, well, both those guys, especially PJ Tucker, obviously with getting loose balls, but Melton gets a lot of loose balls too.
Yeah,
Both of those
and
guys
steals.
are very aggressive, and that's a major difference. And I had one other question too. Like, I think personally, I feel like McDaniels is a huge underrated acquisition for this series. I mean, I feel like he's a major upgrade over Thibault. What's your thoughts on McDaniel?
Yeah, I definitely think he's a major upgrade over Thibault, just from the aspect of he's more complete. He's a better athlete than Thibault. He's bigger than Thibault. He's about 5 inches taller than him, and he uses that length too. He hasn't got as big of a role as I expected so far in the postseason. He was a guy I kind of expected to see a bigger slice of the pie when the minutes were divvied up, but he's still making his impact felt when he's in there. And that second unit that they roll out when Joel Embiid is on the bench is basically James Harden and a bunch of athletes, and that's the Paul Reed, the Jalen McDaniels, the Anthony Melton, Daniel House even out there. George Niang sometimes gets the nod in that, who is not regarded for his athleticism.
Yeah.
But there is something to that of just a bunch of guys that can change the pace, because when this is a team constructed around James Harden and Joel Embiid, they're never going to be known for their pace of play or running and gunning up and down the court. These are two guys that are way more calculated, smooth, and just take their time in their delivery. So having that change of pace in a rotation where you can just throw guys out there that are ready to run and gun up and down the court, that can produce some really positive results. I think that's been seen through the tail end of the regular season and in this series for sure. So McDaniels plays a key role in that unit, and I'd love to see him being expanded upon a little more moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And in looking at this Boston series, I mean, we can touch on Harden, Harris, but let's be honest. I mean, like we said earlier, it's going to all come down to the big guy. I mean, how I know it's not necessarily his fault that he wound up getting, but how frustrating is it that it's like every single year we deal with the same thing?
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating.
Mm-hmm. It is, and I know he feels it too. Like it even feels like this year specifically was the year that like his health was a focus. He sat out some games down the stretch. He missed the end of the regular season trying to make sure that he was healthy for a playoff run, and it's frustrating after 3 games that we see him grabbing at his knee and going for MRIs, and really the future being unclear on what level he's able to play at, or if he's able to play at all, because we'll see. And obviously we'll be rooting heavily for the Hawks tomorrow to extend that Celtics series and get him as much rest as possible. But they also just suspended DeJounte Murray for a game, so I don't have a ton of optimism that Atlanta can steal one in Boston. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel bad for Joel. The Sixers need him on the court. They don't have much of a chance of beating this Boston team without him being there. I mean, at his best, I think he's the best player on the floor in that series. I think he's the guy that's the difference maker compared to Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. There's just not an answer for Joel Embiid, but he has to be that version of himself for that to be the case. So if he is hampered or playing at 50%, then it doesn't bode well for the Sixers' chances. So it's super frustrated. It's a spot nobody wants to be in, and hopefully that this week off will do him some good.
I got something to say about Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stop making excuses for the dude. I just feel like it's always, my knee when it gets to the but when it's MVP race time, when it's time to win that award, you're all there. You're beating all these weaker teams. Then we get to the playoffs, and it just always seems, and I know last year wasn't his fault with the face or whatever the year was with his face, and it's not always his fault, but it just always seems to be something. So that's just always going to be excuse. There's your legacy, dude. Your legacy is, I got hurt every single year he got to the playoffs, and that's the excuse I'm going to make. Eventually, you gotta be the best player on the court like you are when you're healthy, even when hurt, like Giannis was. When Giannis got hurt in that playoff run, he still found a way to step up every single night through pain. Michael Jordan, his sick game. All these great players, they make their legacy through the pains, through the aches. Allen Iverson. I remember in 2001, they showed a graphic of Allen Iverson's injury thing, and it was like 16 different injuries he was dealing with. There were little nicks and ticks there, but we're all hurt at this time of year. We got to stop making excuses for this guy.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And for what it's worth, I mean, this is the same injury that Giannis did have during his run. And for the comparison of Joel Embiid, this is pretty much like a splash in the pan for some of the other stuff that he's dealt with during a playoff run. So maybe we can look at that as a sign of optimism. I do agree. I think he gets a little bit of the woe is me in terms of like when he's playing well, it's like, look at him overcome that. But when he's not playing well, it's like, well, it's because of the injuries. I think it does swing that way in his favor a lot of times. But yeah, I mean, this is the clearest chance at a legitimate championship run that we've really had during the Joel Embiid era. The pieces, there's not as many missing X's as far as checking the box and seeing what this roster holds. So yeah, he's got to step up. He's got to answer it, and he's got to get it done. I'm not counting him out yet. And yeah, like I said, like on the scale of injuries, this is one of the better things that have broken his way. And I do still feel bad for him to a point, because I think a lot of them just haven't been his fault, like the getting hit in the face. And we're talking about last season. He's hitting that game winner in Toronto with a torn ligament in his shooting thumb, and he's still finding a way. So I hope he can overcome it and get it done. But I definitely hear you.
I love the way Maxey's playing. Like,
yeah.
playing lights out. A lot of people don't like him sometimes on his defense, but that's something he has to work on. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I've absolutely loved what I've seen from Maxey, and he's a guy who is not afraid of the moment whatsoever. There's no moment too big for him, that he's willing to step to center stage, call his own number, hit a big three, and he's done it. And defensively, what you mentioned has been like a point of concern for me. I think he's taken some significant strides forward in his defense. I don't think he's a guy that you can attack on the defensive end anymore. I think he's for sure the better defender out of him and Harden in the backcourt. And as long as he's a better, just a passable defender, that's really all the Sixers are going to ask from him. He matched up with Spencer Dinwiddie primarily in that series, who's a guy who had a significant 4 or 5 inches on Maxey. And I thought Maxey did a really nice job staying up in him, not letting him get anything done. And that's huge. That's going to be further put to the test against this Boston team, who have a size advantage pretty much across the board outside of Embiid compared to the Sixers. So, but yeah, Maxey's a crucial part of this team. And it's no longer he's like a bonus guy. Like, he's awesome. I'm excited to see what we got. It's like he's a necessary part of this team, that they're going to be counting on him for production. And I believe in him to deliver. So I'm thrilled that he's a part of this equation, and he's just the man from start to finish.
Sean, just to chime in, I got knocked off on some computer glitches. I mean, look, it's, Paul Reed, PJ Tucker, DeAnthony Melton just stepping up like the unsung heroes coming off the bench. I mean, everybody talks about Boston and Milwaukee's bench, but the Sixers are answering the bell and, just sitting back waiting for Boston. I mean, I think these guys can step right in and, give what they gave in that Brooklyn series.
Yeah, I think this is a better Sixers bench than we've seen in a lot of years past. Paul Reed's like a real deal storyline. If we look back on that 2018 run, the Jimmy Butler season, where it was the Kawhi bounce that put us out. I mean, Greg Monroe was the Sixers' primary backup center option, and they just were bleeding points every time he stepped on the court. So to have a guy like Paul Reed, who is stepping up, is answering the call, is making life hard for opponents, that's a huge deal. And that's something that, like, it gets overlooked, and this is something that Daryl Morey mentioned when he first came to Philly, that he thinks too much is made of the backup center. And in general, like, he's right that for most teams, a backup center is pretty much a whatever position. But that's not the case for the Sixers, because when Joel's on the court, he's their everything. He's who the ball goes through offensively. He's the anchor to their defense. So you can't just throw in like a dime a dozen guy to back that up, because there's such huge shoes to fill. And Paul Reed, he's finding his own lane. He's doing it differently. There's still some like weirdness in his game for sure, but he's come a far way, and he's absolutely ready to answer the call. So I don't think that's something that should be taken lightly for sure.
I have a question. So hypothetically, say, Boston gets past Atlanta. First of all, what do you, if the healthy Embiid plays, A, do you think we get past them? And B, if there's another early second round exit, do you see any consequences to that if that happens, as far as maybe Rivers gets replaced, or what happens after if we lose to a second round again?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. If this was a fully healthy Joel Embiid and we were entering this, I came into this series with the belief that this is the year the Sixers get by it, that I was confident this is the roster that's constructed to do it. The Embiid injury definitely adds a factor, and I also was not overly encouraged by James Harden's performance, as we talked about in that. Yeah. So I'm not as locked in on that as I was heading into the playoffs. I think pretty much regardless, this is a 6 or 7 game series, and I still, depending on how Embiid looks in those first couple minutes, I'm still going to lean towards I think the Sixers can get it done this year. This Boston team's very good, but they're not impenetrable, or they're not without weaknesses in the way sometimes I think it's made out to be. Like, there's holes that can be attacked by the Sixers within this team. If that isn't the case and that they don't get past the second round again, there's definitely some significant changes in the works. It starts with Doc Rivers. That's for sure the first name on the chopping block. But James Harden is a real factor, and I I think his play is going to be something to really watch in this series. That he was brought in to be this secondary co-star to Joel Embiid. He's supposed to be that guy to help him get over the edge. If he can't do that, there shouldn't be a blank check waiting for him. This should be a real decision, and maybe it is time to let him take his talents back to Houston if that's what he desires and look for a guy who can be that guy. So there's definitely a lot at stake in this playoff series, and if they don't find a way to get past this round for the whatever consecutive year, I definitely think there's some big changes in store.
Sean, do you actually see Tobias Harris coming back in the last year of his contract, or you think he's stepping up, showcasing what he could do elsewhere?
Yeah, it's definitely a little of both. This offseason will be the first time Tobias Harris is kind of like a positive trade value piece, because there's teams around the NBA that will look at him making $40 million off the cap as a positive thing in regards to, and you can basically clear cap room by trading for him, and you pour out a bunch of money to bring him in. You have him for a year, and then that's $40 million empty that you can clear out. So that's something that teams will look for. I don't know. Tobias has kind of played himself, and once again, hats off that he's been a tremendous teammate in person and accepting whatever role is given, never making a big stink of it. And he's played well for the most part this year. So I'm not sure what I expect. And I think the James Harden factor is going to have a lot to do with that as well. If he does end up walking away and leaving, I could definitely see the Sixers trying packaging his contract and some other pieces for a bigger piece in the trade market. But if James Harden's back and Tobias ends up staying, I could see that one going either way. And I think the James Harden is probably the biggest domino to fall to determine that.
I got one for you. Since we're speculating on guys, how about Jimmy Butler possibly coming back?
Yeah, I mean, him and Joel are still tight. He's one of the few guys. It is amazing to watch Jimmy, because he's a guy who pretty much like casually walks through the regular season and then just finds another gear come playoff time. And he's doing that with the Heat right now. I mean, they're up 2-1 on the Milwaukee Bucks, who are considered the title favorites coming into the playoffs. So there is something about Jimmy Butler, and I definitely would be open to it. I'm sure Joel would be open to it. I would hope he is trying to pull strings on that if that does become the case. It would take Jimmy kind of getting sick of Miami again, which in my opinion, he probably should be. I mean, they've got three guys that are undrafted in their starting lineup, and they just have not done a good job providing him with pieces. And even that conference finals run was just heroic stuff of him putting him on his back. So I would love it. I'm not sure how realistic it is. And I think how this playoffs shake out for both teams will go a major way in if that is an option.
Well, what do you think about Damian Lillard? Is Damian Lillard a possibility? It's sitting courtside, making a space nice and seen.
Yeah, I would love it. It depends on the realism. Dame's another guy who I think he should have been kicking the tires on getting out of there a couple years ago. Like, I think this is a guy who should have tried to pull those strings already. If he's open to being moved, he absolutely would be welcomed here in Philadelphia. And that's another move that I believe Joel would be in favor of and be helpful in making happen. I think a Dame Lillard and Joel Embiid combo is even better than a James Harden and Joel Embiid combo. So we'll see. We'll see how the chips fall. If he's open to be moved from Portland, the Sixers should definitely be on the list of teams trying to get involved.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted him last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but you know what though? Hey, that's all speculation based off we lose. You know what? Let's think positive. All right, let's think positive. We still got a playoff run here, so I guess you said you're not as confident. Do you if you had to make a prediction, would you pick the Sixers to win, or are you? I know you said you're on the fence, but I mean, say a mostly healthy Joel. Do you think we're winning the series?
Yeah, I'll stick pinning me down. I'll still stick to Sixers in 7. That was my prediction going into the playoffs, and I'm not going to move from it just yet. The Embiid thing definitely gives me some more hesitancy, as well as the Harden thing. So I'm not as confident on that prediction as I was going into the playoffs, but I'm not taking it back. I'm still going to rock with them and believe that this is the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. How about we kind of touched on it a little bit, but just the playoffs in general. I mean, I got to admit, I mean, as a Sixers fan, of course, I'm always going to hate the Knicks, but I got to be honest, man. It is kind of cool seeing MSG be as electric as it is.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they got 2 Villanova guys getting the job done, so at least we can get a little bit of Philly connection there. Jalen Brunson's unbelievable. The stuff he's doing. I mean, he's going on the court with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, who are both all-stars in their own right. And we're talking about Jalen Brunson, I think, pretty significantly being the best guard on the court, which is a tall task there. And Julius Randle not playing good basketball whatsoever, and Brunson's still leading the charge with that. Josh Hart just making some winning plays. So yeah, the Knicks have been absolutely awesome. They've been fun to watch, and they're a team that is a lot better than I think they've been given credit, and they're showing that. So there's been a ton of fun teams to watch. The Western Conference games I've been loving watching. The Sacramento Kings are a blast to watch as well. So there's a lot of good basketball being played and a lot of fun teams to pay attention to.
Yeah, they're playing Golden State tough. Well, he lost by 1 point yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they're really playing them really good. It's good to
Same
see
with
them.
De'Aaron Fox.
They have so long.
De'Aaron Fox got hurt.
Yeah. So that stinks to see. It's on his shooting hand, broken finger. So that's going to be a tough one because he's their money man, especially come clutch time, and he's been terrific all year. So that is a tough break for the Kings, and I still hope they can gut one out. I believed in this team all year. It's a brutal first-round matchup for them to be playing the Warriors. I think if things had shaken out differently, both these teams are advancing to the second round. So it's unfortunate that they had to play each other, but fun basketball, no doubt.
I honestly think Miami's going to upset Milwaukee. I just have that vibe.
Wow, I would love that. Personally, I'd be very in favor of it. Giannis is coming back tonight, so that will change things. See how much the picture looks different. They're heading back to Milwaukee for a home game there too. So I do think the Bucks will even it up tonight for at the minimum. But Miami should be pretty satisfied sitting tied at 2-2 after this, and we'll see where the series goes from here.
Hey, Adam G has a comment. And getting back to what we were talking about before, he said he's asking, would you trade Matt? Because I'm assuming we'd have to put Maxey in that trade. It would have to be probably like Tobias, Maxey, and a pick. Would you? I mean, as much as we all love Maxey, would you do that to have a couple years of Lillard, of Dame, and Embiid?
I think you probably have to. Unfortunately, I would do everything possible to not make that happen. What has really appealed to me about Tyrese Maxey, and like I said, he's a key part of this team. He's no sweetener or bonus piece at this point. He's a key part of their identity and what they need on the court. The thing that's appealed to me is he's kind of like the bridge, in my opinion, to Joel Embiid's second half of his career. Is that I think there's a world where Joel Embiid continues to be a very effective and important NBA player, where he's not leading the NBA in scoring and scoring 33 points per game, where he's more of maybe an 18 to 20 point per game guy, dominating on the rebounds, playing really good defense, and that there's maybe Tyrese Maxey leading the charge and being a number one option. And you pair him with another key guard who can be that guy, a guy that's a little bit younger than Embiid, and those two really running the show, and Embiid being like the anchor point. So I think there's a world where that's still a competitive championship contending team. So that has to be factored in. It's not an easy decision to make. I mean, from both the on-court and just personality interest, you can't ask for anyone better than Tyrese Maxey. So it would be a tough pill to swallow, and I ideally would love to see him serve his entire career in Philadelphia, but we'll see how the cards fall.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because when you said the second half of his career, we all were too young for this, but I remember, researching Wilt Chamberlain, and it kind of could be almost like Wilt's career, where Wilt put up all those great numbers, in Philadelphia. Then he went to LA and he was like defensive MVP, rebounding, and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor were putting up all the points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very good comparison and something that Embiid's capable of. I mean, we see it when he flips the switch and is fully locked in defensively. I would argue he's probably the best defender in the NBA. And you see the intimidation from opposing players when they attempt to attack the basket, just not even being willing to test it. Picture of that's him on a pretty much every possession basis, where he's not asked to create every single time down the offensive end, where he can take some plays off down that area. So I could see it working. And once again, there's a lot of cards that are going to have to fall before this to dictate the direction of the Sixers franchise. But yeah, I struggle to put a ceiling on what I believe Tyrese Maxey can be at this point. He's blown me away every step of the way and been far better at every area that I've kind of questioned in him. So I would not be rushing to trade him by any means.
Do you think Maxey is a max player?
Is a what?
Do you think Maxey is a max contract player?
I do. I definitely think he's a max contract player, and it'll be interesting to see how they structure it, because there's different kickers as far as when you do it, whether you let him get an all-star or something like that. I think they're going to lock him up as soon as possible. I think it's probably more likely that they give him an extension than it is that they trade him this offseason, and that's, in my opinion, the right mindset for sure. He's ready. I mean, he's just answered the call. He's a 20-point per game scorer. He's a guy doing it high efficiency. The question marks about this guy coming out of college was that he wasn't going to be a good enough shooter, that he was a 30% three-point shooter in college. We're talking about 2 out of his first 3 years in the NBA that he's finished top 5 in the NBA in three-point percentage. Like, that's just nutty stuff and just a testament to him putting in the work and getting better, because that's all that is repetitions and a desire to improve. And he's now improved defensively, which I pointed out. Like, I'm thrilled with what he's doing on the defensive end. He's more than passable on that side of the court at this point. To me, that's a max player. And if he can continue doing it at a high efficiency, which he's shown no indications of not being able to do it this year, he's even taken another step forward with the improved efficiency. So I'm all in on Tyrese Maxey, and I definitely think he's a max guy, whether it's here in Philadelphia or I think there's plenty of teams that would jump at the opportunity to give him that.
Well, we got lucky to have Maxey to begin with. That was the COVID year. They didn't get to play the tournament. I remember the draft came. I said to Josh, you got to get Tyrese Maxey out of Kentucky. Yep. I watched him play like 2 times, and I can tell this kid is special. I killed, and we got him, and I'm like, he's great. He's great. But we can always speculate what he could be for Embiid's the end of his career. That's only speculating if Embiid's going to be here, you know. But if you got a chance to get like Dame Lillard,
true.
He's at the level ready to win this game right now, and we don't know if Max is going to be that in the future. That's just what we think he's going to be. That's his ceiling. You have to kick it. You have to push the button on Dame Lillard to maximize Embiid's prime.
You got to roll the dice.
Yeah, and that's
because that's the only thing that's certain. The only thing that's certain is Embiid in his prime is the best player in the NBA. We don't know if he's even going to want to play that second end of his career after all these injuries and everything.
True.
Yeah. Very true. And a lot of this, like Joel, as much as we kind of laugh at how much like stars have pull and stuff like that, like you're going to want Joel Embiid very involved in this conversation on what his mindset is, what his timeline is, what his outlook is, because that all impacts things. Because at the same time, like, while that's a completely fair point, if you then go all in for Dame Lillard and it doesn't work, and then these guys are both like Dame, I believe, is 33. So if you now have 33-year-old Dame Lillard, 30-year-old Joel Embiid, and then these guys are gone and you have nothing after them, you're also not looking at the brightest future. So you got to kind of find that risk reward, figure out where Embiid specifically his mindset is at. But yeah, it's not the easiest job, and hopefully, ideally, James Harden can just find a little youth in himself where we don't have to worry about this too heavily.
I mean, you already got PJ Tucker, 36, 37 years old.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 more years left on his deal. So
2 more years on PJ Tucker.
I mean,
that's all right. Just let him chill. Let him chill until the playoffs. He's a 16 game guy, not an 82. You know what I'm saying?
I got the plan.
It's all good.
I got the plan.
Start rolling out the old age
back
guys.
end of Embiid's career. 15 minutes PJ Tucker a game, 15 minutes Embiid a game. We just need him for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, one important thing, like I don't think it should be lost, assuming that Joel does win MVP this year, which all signs are pointing to. I think that's an important thing to get off his checklist, that he's not going to worry about chasing that as much as he really has. And while we can he can give the politically correct answers to the media of him not worried about it, whatever, we know that's something he cared about. And honestly, like, I want him to. I think it's cool that he cares, that he wants to be recognized as the best. Like, I want my players to be competing like that and have that drive in them. So I think it's cool. I think it's important that he did get it. And I also think that'll point more towards him be willing to take his foot off the gas when it is the right decision as far as taking care of his body more. So I think that's a positive all around.
Hey, you know what? It's all good, though. We could have the perfect timeline if you think about it, right? Take like another 2-3 year run. Hopefully the Sixers can get a chip or 2. Yeah. And then by that time, maybe by some miracle, the Flyers will actually be ready to compete. Oh. And the Sixers could just tank again, break out the tank like Hinkie did, you know?
You know what? If the Sixers just get one after 40 years, I mean, between the Sixers drought and the Flyers drought is just
we're about 100 years. It's about 100 years.
We better win it. If we haven't won it in 100 years, we better win it with this guy. He's the best player this organization and basketball has ever seen. You know, he's a special generation. If you don't win with Joel Embiid, we better brace ourselves for another 40 years.
Yeah, but
we're not a super attractive market to these free agents. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Philly's not like the most desired place to live. So you got to get lucky with these guys when you draft. And then B, we got super lucky with. He's one of the best players I ever seen play basketball in 33 years.
Every year you see I'm sorry to say, but every year you get to this point, the window's just closing and closing. Hate to be Mr. Negative, but it's the truth. I mean,
like Diego said, I think, in my opinion, I mean, I've been watching basketball since '86. So I mean, I saw the tail end of Elijah. I mean, of Jabbar. I saw Elijah Ewing and all, and as great as those guys were, and they were. And Embiid's the most talented big man that I've personally seen. He can do more than anybody else that I've watched.
Dribble, shoot
He can do it all. The guy. I mean, he can shoot threes. He shoots 86% from the foul line. I mean, I mean, that.
Not to sound like the old guy here, but I remember I was 11 years old when the Sixers won. So I know that taste when, they brought Moses in from Houston. And
must be nice,
Moses, without Moses,
nice.
Doc
got
didn't
the
get
team
over
one.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I remember 1980 being 8 Sixers against the Lakers, Eagles going against the Raiders in the Super Bowl, Flyers losing in the Islanders, and the Phils beating Kansas City. That was a hell of a friggin' era, man.
Unreal.
Doc, Bobby Clark, Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt, Jaworski, Carmichael, Wilbur Montgomery. Hey, that was an era, man. Only time in sports that ever happened. Yeah, that was a hell of a taste at 8 years old, man. I thought, hell, that could be like this every year. We could have had multiple titles, but unfortunately,
here we are.
I hear you, Chris.
Here we are. Here we are, and the what is it? The Philadelphia Athletics still have the most championships in the city.
5 titles.
And as Chris Rapizzi says, because I'll never hate on. He says, "Fucking Boston, hate them," and I'll tell you what. I'll never hate on a little kid, but that little brat that had that little jacket a couple years ago. Remember at the parade? He's like, "This is like my 11th championship." I'm like, "Little."
Oh no, he has
I'm
like,
"Screw you!"
Punch that kid in the face. That's like a kid you just want to punch in the face. That's my 11th championship. Good for you, kid.
Yeah. But anyway, but listen though. Hey, Sean, man, I really appreciate you hopping on, dude. It's been a lot of fun. I love talking Sixers with you, and. I hopefully next time we talk, we will be moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals or NBA Finals, whatever, and let's keep this run going. Why don't you tell all the people? I'm sure a lot of them already know, but just tell all the people where they can see you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, and
no problem, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a strong James Harden and Joel Embiid run, and we don't got to worry too much about what goes on from here. So hopefully that's our takeaway next time we're on here. But as far as where you can check me out, you can check out my written work on phillysportsnetwork.com. You can catch me on the radio on Fox 102.5. Call in between 3 and 6 on the Daily Ticket with Sean Brace, and then as well as on the Tough Cover with Mark Henry's on Saturdays 11 to 1. So a little bit all over the place there. And check out Pick Swap Media for my own stuff I got going on there. We dropping an episode tomorrow with a full recap of the Nets and breakdown of the Celtics. So yeah, that's just about everything for me.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
I follow your Twitter a lot. You're great on Twitter.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. See you.
Have a good one.
Peace, man.
Yeah, that was fun. And I almost busted out laughing.
I did. I started laughing. I read it. I started laughing because
he's like, that kid never got
that kid right in the face.
Broken punch that kid in the face. I think he probably meant to say that kid ain't got no heart. Punch him in the face.
I didn't mean to laugh because he was like making his plugs, but I looked down and I was about to spit my drink out. So
I know. You know, there's some kid from Philadelphia that just wanted to go up and be like, oh yeah.
Oh, you did right. Oh, you did. Boom.
Finger straight to the face.
Wait, what's he saying? Yeah. Like Sean said, what did 5 fingers say to the face? Slap.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's like, oh, he's gonna punch that kid right in the face and bang. That's pain. We felt like that. How many times on a sports team I felt like I got punched in my face? You want to know what it feels like to be a Sixers fan? Bang! Just sock the kid in the face.
Yeah, now Eagles. We lost Eagles. We lost last year, and the Phillies too, man. So yeah, definitely.
I'll tell you what, I got a mock draft. I mean, I did a mock draft. We doing these mock draft thing?
We are. In fact, speaking of Eagles, I want to get into that real quick. Let me give a shout out to the sponsors, and we'll get right into the Eagles here. All right. So, anybody out there, speaking of slapping people in the face, we don't advocate violence here on the Sully Squad. But if you did slap a little kid in the face, well, you shouldn't do that, by the way. Say the kid from Boston, you got into it with a Boston fan. Let's just say that. Workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law. You can call David R. Cherry Esquire at 610-565-0300 or www.cherryinjurylaw.com. Looks like we got a wiffle ball madness thing going on.
Anybody go?
Dolan's and Ridley Park. Yeah, I may be going to that. Mike. I think Joey may have a baseball game, but I might be able to work around it. Charlie Manuel, Mickey Morandini, the Philly sports guys, and Hollis Thomas will be there. It's Saturday, May 13th from 1 to 8. It's down at Dolan's, and Wiffle Ball Mania and Eagles Autism Fundraiser. So make sure you check that out. Anybody out there trying to go to a Sixers game? Sixers, Phillies, I would say Flyers, but we're allergic to the playoffs in hockey. But anyway, call Cherry, www.cherrystickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. They got great prices, no hidden fees. Save 10% off the promo code EOP10. I know Mike knows all about this, the Philly sports trips. I know, Mike, you could do the commercial on this anytime you want, man. He goes all the time. www.phillysportstrips.com. The next one is Kansas City this Thursday. Well, you probably had to get tickets for that ahead of time, but there's other ones coming up, so check them out. And go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say Vince Rizzuto does a heck of a job, second to none. He's the best in the business. He'll take care of you. Check out Philly Sports Trips. You can't go wrong.
Yep. Here's the EOP Edge of Philly Sports lineup. Something here for everybody. So make sure you check out the show. So yeah, obviously we did a lot of Sixers talk because it's playoff time, but it's draft week, y'all. So.
Mike.
Hey, what's up, Mike? How are you, bro? All right, so let's get into a little bit of a mock draft here, because there's so many rumors. I mean, I got to be honest. I've kind of given up on the Bijan Robinson thing. I don't. I just, as time goes on, I don't see the Eagles doing it. And honestly,
man, as time goes on, I see it happening even more.
Really, I'm the opposite. No. I feel like it's not going to happen, but. Part of the reason I don't think it's going to happen is there's a lot of now this could be bullshit because it's Lion season, but a lot of people are speculating he's going to go 8 to the Falcons.
Oh well, if he goes before us, then we don't really have a choice. But I think I don't know. We'll get to that. What else are you thinking?
I'm trying to think. Okay, you said Atlanta. You got Tyson Algieri and you got Patterson.
I hear you, but Atlanta's
Patterson's
such a weird
getting
team.
old too.
You know what I mean? But you're right. They are a weird team.
I mean, they took a tight end.
Throwing a wrench.
They took a tight end.
Isn't Patterson pushing 30 years old, or he is 30 by this point?
He's up there. You're right, but they got the guy Tyson Algieri out of BYU. But maybe who am I? I'm just an average fan. Maybe they don't see the knockout punch. So
wasn't there a rumor that they were interested in Christian Gonzalez?
Well, they could. Yeah. That's another guy. Yeah, that's another guy. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so we got pick 1. We got the Carolina Panthers. Where do you guys? Let's do the top 10 picks, and we'll get to the Eagles. So pick 1, Carolina. I guess I'll start it off. I think it seems like they've kind of narrowed it down to Bryce Young.
That's what I think it is. I think it's Bryce Young.
That's consensus on that one.
I think that's the best pick too, because you're Carolina. You haven't had like a solid quarterback in a very long time. So if you take Levis, there's questions about Levis. There's questions about Richardson. There's questions about C.J. Stroud, but there doesn't seem to be as many questions about Bryce Young. I think that's the quarterback they end up He ended up taking the guy who's went to the best school, the guy who has the most wins probably in all these quarterbacks' careers. I think that's the guy they take it one.
Well, wasn't a debate between Stroud and Young? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I think it's probably between them. I think the smarter pick would be, in my opinion, be Bryce Young because of where he went to school. I know C.J. Stroud went to school at a great school too, but like I said, there's more questions about C.J. Stroud than Bryce Young.
I know the jury's still out on Justin Fields, but what quarterback ever really made it big in the NFL from Ohio State?
No.
Nobody.
Justin Fields is nice though.
That's always been the argument.
Well, as an Eagles fan, when I think of Ohio State quarterbacks, I think of Bobby Hoying.
Bobby Hoying.
Yeah, Bobby Hoying. That's the first quarterback I remember.
Bobby Hoying looked like Joe Montana for like a game against the Bengals, and everybody ran the Models to get his jersey, and then he was trash. He was trash that day. I have a Bobby Hoying jersey that was part of my collection, obviously.
What could we play with Ohio State? Ricky Dudley.
Yeah.
Eddie George.
Yeah, he had a lot to work with. I think he had Terry Glenn too.
Yeah, and he had Joey Galloway.
Yeah.
So
Adam G with a question. He says, "Are the Eagles going to trade for Henry?" I don't think so. That was a rumor that came out this weekend, but I think the I was reading on Twitter that a lot of people were shooting that down. The Titans GM was saying it was utter BS, and
that's what the GM was asked, I guess, today or yesterday. I think Jimmy Kempski asked him, and the GM was like, "No, not at all." They said there were no offers for Henry.
Yeah, Anthony Stas. He was just getting back to the Sixers for a second. He says he sees the Sixers making Eastern Conference Finals. They just have to stay consistent against Boston. PJ Tucker has to keep up the tight D. Let's hope. All right, so let's go to the second pick. Now, a lot of the offseason, people were just assuming that Houston was going to take a quarterback.
No,
I don't think they are. I actually think
think
Houston takes Will Anderson.
He's the only guy they met twice with. The only guy in the draft they met twice with. I think that's the pick too. I think it's Will Anderson Jr.
You think they're okay with the quarterback?
No, but they also have the 12th pick. So they have 2 first-round picks next year. They have Cleveland's first-round pick again next year. So they have the ammunition. Yeah, they have the ammunition. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive coach. Stroud supposedly, I don't know what that test was, but he supposedly got a 28 on a test, and everybody was like, "Damn, what the hell's up with CJ Stroud?"
The test consisted of memorization of plays, and his was very low, like to get out of play.
Oh wow!
So they're saying now he might drop out of top 4 because of that test of him not absorbing a simple play or calling a hard play.
Damn, what are they going to do? Like draw a diagram and shit for him? You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like playing at the playground. They're like this. Like, all right, CJ, here's what we got to do. Now you run this way, and you run. All right, cool.
We're going to play X's and O's.
Yeah.
Doesn't Ohio State put the big boards up and they look over at the sideline and see the big boards? We're going to see that in the NFL. They're going to have to draw the play on a card. Just hold it up.
Didn't they say Houston has like 5 picks in the top 70? Something like
that. That's what I'm saying. They have the ammunition, and with D'Amico Ryans being a defensive coach, I mean, if he's sitting there and he's got a chance to get the best defensive player in this draft, he grabs him, and then he could always go for quarterback. Or to be honest with you, I mean, Houston fans probably wouldn't love this idea, but let's be honest. If you're looking at the future of your franchise, you add an impact defensive player. And there's 2 stud quarterbacks coming out in next year's draft, and Caleb Williams and the kid from North Carolina. I think there's a 3rd guy coming out too. I'm drawing a blank on him. But
Rattler from South Carolina.
If Houston's not good next year, they could get their franchise quarterback next year. This isn't a 1-year turnaround for the Texans. This is a few-year process. You know,
right? 100%.
All right. So let's get to the 3rd pick. Now, Arizona, there's a lot of speculation that Arizona I was reading on Twitter today. They said the Vikings are trying to move up, but they're all the way at 24. I can't imagine they have enough ammunition to move from 24 to 3. They'd have to pull like a Mike Ditka and trade the whole draft and part of
Marky Williams.
I don't think Arizona wants that pick, though.
What's that?
What's that?
I don't think Arizona wants that pick.
Well, there's rumors that Tennessee wants to move up too. Tennessee is picking 11th. So that if Arizona could possibly move from 3 to 11, I can't imagine moving all the way to 24. But I could see Tennessee possibly moving up.
And Tennessee likes Will Levis.
Right.
So
does Indianapolis, I heard. So Tennessee, three. So 3 is a prime spot for a trade because everybody kind of knows Indianapolis is probably going to take a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But let's just say there's not a trade. So if there's no trade, I have Arizona taking Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher from Texas Tech.
That's what I got.
Well, I mean, J.J. Watt retired, so, you definitely need some help on that defensive line.
All right. So now we're up to pick 4. We got the Colts, and I guess it's kind of a question of what quarterback do they want? Do they want Will Levis? Do they want Anthony? Well, C.J. Stroud's here. Do they go C.J.
I think
Stroud?
that's the guy. C.J. Stroud goes here at 4 to Indy.
Steichen getting him and kind of is he Steichen?
Steichen-esque.
You know what I mean?
Quarterback.
I mean,
He doesn't run a lot. But he can run. He is athletic.
if we're not talking the Stroud problem, I see them going Levis with no trade Levis.
See, you know,
or I take that back, Richardson.
see, Tim. I mean,
I have Richardson too on the Apples.
Yeah, Richardson. I have.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I kind of see Richardson because I feel like Steichen. I feel like he could run the same exact offense that he ran here in Philly.
With her,
Don't forget they got Jonathan Taylor behind them too.
Yeah, so
all these quarterbacks are pretty dual threat. They're all athletic.
Right.
They can all move. C.J. Stroud can run. Richardson can run. I mean, if you're a rookie coach, do you want to project a quarterback? Or do you want a guy who's a little bit more proven, like C.J. Stroud, coming out of a big school? Who you banking on? Because you have a bad 3 years, you're fired.
Right.
Like
You take this quarterback, he's your quarterback for the next 3 years, you're fired.
I mean, how good's the offensive line too?
I think
What, Sean? What did Sean say?
I said Stroud coming from Ohio State. How did all the Ohio State quarterbacks pan out?
I don't think people think like that. I don't think coaches go, oh, well, he's from Ohio State, so don't take him. They have a bad track record of quarterback. They look at the individual player and make a decision.
Yeah, true. I see them going Richardson, just like we said with Steichen with Ertz. So it's Richardson.
All right, well, we're kind of mixed. The 5th pick, I see Seattle going Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
He screams a Pete. He's Pete Carroll.
Project player.
Pete Carroll.
A lot of people think he's the best player in the draft.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. He was ranked number 1. Yeah. Before all this nonsense. Yeah, true.
All right, so now we're up to the Lions at pick 6. The Lions can go in a lot of different ways.
I see
corner
or Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I agree. Corner there.
They traded one guy to Atlanta a couple weeks.
Yeah, they traded Okuda, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I see that happening. And plus, to bring up that too, they also have 2 picks, right, in the first
They
round?
do.
So, yeah, you address that cornerback need. That's for me.
They traded
CD Deuce.
They traded Okuda, and now they're Okuda Matata, and he means no worries with Christian Gonzalez because he goes into the quarterback, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're at pick number 7, and I'll tell you, the way I have this draft going, I think the Raiders would absolutely be in love with because I personally, on my board, I have C.J. Stroud going to the Raiders, and I've been reading a lot where he actually wants to go. I mean, of course he wants to be picked higher, but he supposedly is like he really would like to go to Vegas to play, and I think C.J. Stroud is the 7th pick going to the Raiders.
We almost have the same exact board besides these two guys switched. I think Anthony Richardson is your typical Oakland Raiders pick.
Okay.
I heard that last night on NFL Network. Did the mock
I see Stroud. Yeah.
All right, so now we're up to 8, and this is interesting time because do the Falcons go Bijan Robinson or do they go corner?
Corner?
I have Devin Witherspoon.
That's who you got? Okay.
Yeah.
Could see that.
It's the Falcons, so I'm going Bijan Robinson because anybody that picks a tight end at 4, I think will take a running back at 8. So I think the Falcons go Bijan Robinson, and the Eagles don't even have a chance to. The Eagles don't even have a chance to make the pick.
So Atlanta's defensive coordinator loves his players in space, and the dude that went to Georgia, Nolan Smith, in-state guy, I think that's who they go with. I think they take DN from Georgia, like the outside linebacker DN guy, Nolan Smith.
Let's see.
I can see this. Mike Lauro says Trey Lance to the Texans. I mean, that would make a lot of sense. I mean, especially if D'Amico Ryans likes him, because D'Amico was in San Francisco and Lance's value is a little bit down, so they may be able to get him for like a couple seconds, and then they don't even have to spend a high pick on a quarterback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's not. Yeah, but the only problem with that he is a project too, though. He's not proven. He hasn't proved anything. So I mean, just taking a risk on him anyway.
Well, I mean, I hear you, but I'm saying if D'Amico Ryans doesn't love any of these quarterbacks, instead of wasting one of his first, either the first pick or the 12th pick, if he could bring Trey Lance in for like 2 second-round picks or something like that, and he's got tons of picks, he takes a gamble on Trey Lance. If he don't pan out, he's picking high next year anyway. But meanwhile, he could add 2 top starters. Like, for example, he gets the best defensive. All right, imagine you're Texans, right? We're not going to go up to 12, but I'll just bring this scenario. You get Will Anderson at 2, then you're sitting there at 12, and you get the top wide receiver in the draft. You know what I'm saying? So you go top defensive player, big time game breaking receiver, and then you bring Trey Lance in to give him a look-see with that receiver and with an improved defense, and you see what he could do. It's not a bad thought, I think.
Well,
Who's the best receiver? Who's the best receiver in this draft? Dude from Ohio State? Najee or whatever his name is?
Yeah, Jibo, and then Jordan Anderson, and then Quentin Johnson.
There's a kid from, I believe, North Carolina. Shoot, what the hell is his name? I'm drawing a blank. It's like Pringle or something. Not Pringle. Yeah, look him up. But there's somebody that they're comparing to like a young AJ Brown. Hang on, Diego. I just got a question for you real quick before we move on. Anthony Stas wants to know, Diego, how are you making out with the union broadcasting?
Great. Having doing really good. Writing my articles and stuff. So check them out. Check them out on my Twitter, Diego EOP, and check me out Thursday. Thursday nights on Attack and Third for my union podcast.
Josh Downs.
Are you talking about Zay Flowers?
No,
Josh Downs. Josh Downs. Yeah. That's
5'9",
a guy.
171, North Carolina.
All right. So I have Bijan Robinson going 8. Some of you guys have some difference. All right. So now we're at the 9th pick. Chicago Bears. I have Skoronski too. What do you guys have?
I got Luke Van Ness.
I have Paris Johnson, OT, Ohio.
Okay. Mike,
and I have the Eagles picking Skoronski.
All right.
I say Miles Murphy, defensive.
So it's funny. I have the exact opposite of Paul. So now we're at the Eagles pick. I have the Bears taking Skoronski, and I have the Eagles taking Paris Johnson, the tackle / guard from Ohio State. I saw something on NFL Network today that said that one of the reporters was saying the Eagles supposedly love the kid because he can play guard and they think he's tall. Like Skoronski, for instance, has like the short arms, and they feel like he could be an excellent guard, but he's never really going to be a tackle. Where Paris Johnson is like really big, he's got long arms, and they feel like he could play guard and tackle.
Let me iterate. I thought you said the Eagles. I heard Skoronski too.
Well, for the Bears, we had the
Bears. I mean,
Skoronski. Yeah. Paul had the Eagles taking Skoronski at 10. He had them getting the kid from Ohio State at 9.
I got
the Bears.
I got Paris Johnson too as well with no trades.
All right, so that's where they go at 10. Yeah, I don't feel like going through all 30 picks here. So let's fast forward.
The
So
Eagles at 10. The Eagles are taking Bijan Robinson at 10.
if he's there, you think?
Did you guys see?
If Bijan Robinson is there, the Eagles take him at 10. Everyone says Howie Roseman, he ain't gonna make that pick. He don't pick them picks. Blah blah blah. He hears all that. You know, I think the Eagles have a board. You know what I'm saying? And they got 10 guys on that board, right? And if one of them 10 guys come to him, if that's Bijan Robinson, that's the guy we take.
I think we're taking Miles.
You see, NBC Sports Philly has Eagles trading the 10 pick to Detroit.
Really?
Yeah, Detroit will select at 10 Will Levis. And then Eagles select 18 Nolan Smith.
I think Detroit's pretty good with Jared Goff. I feel like Jared Goff proved he deserves another year or two there, and they got to put a good team around them.
I could see the Eagles doing that. You know what, though? I could see the Eagles doing that. I could see that trade happening. Like, yeah, Diego, I agree with you that Jared Goff, that they're in good hands with Jared Goff for now. But if Detroit likes the young quarterback, like, for instance, Levis might not be ready to play for a couple years, but he comes in and sits behind Goff. And
That's
then,
true.
You know what I mean? So,
That's true.
what would the Eagles be getting with the, like, in addition to the 18th pick? Would they be getting like a second rounder or like a first next year? Or because to move from 10
okay, it says the Eagles will get the 18th pick from Detroit as well as their second round pick at 48 and the third round pick in 24.
Yeah, I'm all right with that because that would give us two. So basically, at that point, we're going to 18. But then we have 30, 48, 62, and then another. You said we had another pick in 20. The other third rounder was in 24.
Third round pick in 24. Yeah.
Wow, you know what's crazy? That would give us like either 3 or 4 third round picks for next year.
I already got 11 picks for next year.
Which we'll never use all those picks. But you know what? Here's the thought though. We'd have 2 2s, like 3 or 4 3s. Maybe they could trade a 2 and a 3 and get like a Buda Baker.
I'm down for that.
I think
You know
they're
what I'm
going.
saying?
I think they're going to move a couple of those picks for next year, this weekend.
They're saying that Goff has 2 years left on his deal currently.
Right, but I read that too. But most of the guaranteed money is up. So basically, if Goff plays like he did last year, he'll be the man. But if Goff slips up a little bit and Levis actually develops, I believe they could get out of Goff's contract without a lot of guaranteed money. I think they'd be okay. So Goff will be the guy this year, but after this year, if they think Levis is ready, and I'll tell you what, that actually really does make a lot of sense because if Levis is good, Detroit goes forward with a really talented team with a quarterback on a rookie pay scale. They could really add to that team and do something.
Yeah, definitely.
But like anything else, it all depends on if the kid's good, right? I mean,
they better make up for the 4 guys that got suspended.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the rookie receiver last year got suspended for 6 games. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was all.
No, a couple of players got suspended indefinitely, but the rookie kid got 6 games.
Gotcha. All right, so let's fast forward. Oh, here we go. Here we got a comment here. Mike Morrow says, "Look for the Jets to try to move up to 10." Yeah, I would have said that, Mike, but they just gave up a lot of capital to get Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know.
They got no picks to move up.
Yeah, I don't know how they would. I don't know how they would do that. I mean, because in all likelihood, in the Rodgers trade, the way it worked out is if he plays 65% of the snaps, that pick is going to be their first round pick next year. And if you're a Jets fan, you got to hope he plays 65% of the snaps. You know what I mean?
Right.
So in all likelihood, they're not going to have a 1 for next year. And then all of a sudden, they only have 1, 2 this year and no 3. So I doubt the Jets are going to trade their second round pick this year just to move up 5 spots, and they don't pick to like the 4th round. Unless there's a guy they really love.
I can see the Packers making the trade 10-15. You know what I mean?
Well, the Packers are 13 now.
Okay, so, yeah,
But even so, yeah, I mean,
even
you
now,
can see that.
yeah.
All right, so let's just before we get out of here, let's just fast forward. How are we looking at 30? Who are some of the possibilities at 30, or do you think we possibly trade down? I think he's going to try to trade down.
I think he tries to trade out of this one for
Yeah.
sure.
Tries to trade out
Get
of
more
it,
picks.
but if he doesn't, I see him drafting. If we don't draft an O lineman with 10 at 30, Osiris Torrance from Florida,
I could see that.
6'5", 330, a mauler. And
If they're not going to get Bijan, I say they go with
Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a mock draft here, but this is weird. This is CBS Sports, but this is only from a day or two ago, which this can't be right. This has Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith's going to go higher than 30.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I got Nolan Smith going 8 to Atlanta.
Well, last night, NFL Network had him going 20 to Seattle with that whatever pick they got.
See that, but 30 to me would be the Osiris Torrance, like I said. And if they go defensive route, I would hope Brian Branch. But I think Brian Branch is on the radar of Washington and Steelers. So,
Right.
Well,
it's going to be interesting.
Howie supposedly loves. There's a kid that I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. Is a defensive end / tackle from Northwestern that a lot of people are speculating that Howie loves. The one guy, I think his name's Pete Prisco. Prisco, I believe.
Yeah, he's a draft analyst.
Yeah, and he's been right on a lot of Eagles stuff in the past. I think he said last year how much the Eagles liked Cam Jurgens before they picked him, and he says that Howie loves the kid, so it could be a possibility at 30 if we don't trade down. So, yeah, did you find his name?
No,
It's like Olashuba something, you know.
I got you.
But anyway, all right. Well, hey, a lot can happen, I guess, between now and Thursday. Who knows? Maybe the Eagles will even make a trade before the draft.
We'll see.
The last few years, Howie did. Howie made trades like a week or two before, and now this time we're waiting for actual draft night. And hey, look at last year. Last year we wound up with AJ Brown.
Big time.
So. All right, guys. Any other thought? Well, you know what? One last thing before we get out of here. How about the just a quick little note? Pretty excited about what the Phillies did this weekend. We're only a game out of 500 and 3.5 out of the division. So, just real quick, you guys think they're turning a corner?
Well, here's a great stat for you. We are 11-12 right now, right?
Yes.
We were 11-12 same time last year, and we went to the World Series.
Yeah, but in a wild card spot.
Same record after 23 games.
Yeah, and how about Brandon Marsh and
that's looking like a great a steal at this point.
Yeah,
I was going to mention the catcher that we gave up to Angels on our show tomorrow, Joe Ohapi.
Yeah.
Now he's out for a season with a torn labrum, but he was on fire. He was really good over there.
Ohapi.
Yeah.
You think O'Toole's isn't that non-alcoholic beer?
No, O'Toole.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
it's going to be a great trade for both teams, but now Ohapi's out for the year. But yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Ohapi will come back. I mean, he can still have a good career. But yeah, Brandon Marsh looking like a stud. Bryson Stott's looking like a stud. And
Castellanos
with two home runs in a game. Wow.
Castellanos ain't good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah, actually, we're leading the league in hitting. To tell you the truth,
The most hits, yeah.
Yeah.
We got the most hits this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but hey, we'll get these coming weeks we'll get a little more into the Phillies. I mean, hey, I'm glad they're playing better, but let's be real. It's still early in the season, and with draft time and NBA playoffs, you know what I mean? That's kind of the priority right now. But it's good to see the Phillies. Good to see the Phillies playing better, and it was also encouraging to see Zach Wheeler have 12 strikeouts yesterday. That was encouraging because Nola and Wheeler have been, and even Nola. I'll give Nola props. Thursday night, I was all pissed off because I looked up and it was already 3-0. But props to Nola. He settled down after that and he pitched a really good ball game. So
and Soto is looking like a stud after that rocky start in the beginning. Now he's looking like a stud, Soto.
Yeah, he started pitch good too. He pitched a nice game the other day.
Yeah.
So let's hope the Phillies are turning the corner. We got Seattle coming up this week.
And then Houston this weekend.
All right, so Seattle, and then what? Out in Houston?
Yes.
Out in Houston, weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Houston.
Yes.
All right, so six games. Houston will be tough. I'm gonna hope somehow we can find a way to go 4-2, and by this time next week be a game over 500.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
Great.
Right. So, but anyway, hey, go Sixers, go Phillies. Go Birds, Howie Roseman time. Next week, I got a nice little special shirt to wear. It'll be funny. And for the number one GM in the National Football League,
Matty B.
Make sure you check that out, Matty B. Actually, by the way, happy birthday to Matty B. I saw on Facebook it was his birthday. So happy birthday, Matty B.
Happy birthday.
Sure,
He loves you.
yeah, I'm sure Howie Roseman's gonna send you a gift card somewhere. You're his number one fan.
All right, guys.
But all right, anyway, go Birds and go Birds, go Sixers, go Phillies, and I'll see you all next week.
See you.
Peace, y'all.
See y'all.